So speaking of medical conditions, let's talk about a little update on these FIFA soccer players, athletes across the world who have been dropping like flies.
Okay, so I was watching a European soccer match.
Like live, like real time?
It wasn't live. I think it was recorded. But I mean, I was watching the match, and one of the defenders is in front of the goal. The team is bringing down the ball, and the camera is literally watching the ball on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side, you've got the goalkeeper and this defender standing right there. And while I'm watching it, the defender just falls down on the goal line.
Really?
Yeah. Falls down. Man. Medical personnel, now I've watched soccer for a long time. Medical person, they let you lay there for a while, like normally, like because soccer players are good at faking injuries just to get a, but this obviously wasn't. I mean, he just like tipped over, fell down. The medical personnel like went right on the field. The whistle blew. Normally doesn't happen this way, but now with all these FIFA players keeling over, they're obviously on high alert. So they ran out there, they took him. Evidently he's okay from what I read. I don't have the article here with me, but I read that he's okay, but he had a heart issue. And of course FIFA athletes are all vaccinated. And he had a heart issue, just athletic male, probably 20 something, just young guy. These are people in tip top shape. And he just like kills over. So it's happening all over.
Yeah. So from a November Israeli real-time news report, at that point in time, there had been a 500% increase in sudden cardiac and unexplained death among FIFA players in 2021. According to their research, FIFA had averaged 5 cardio-related deaths a year from 2001 to 2020, so about 2 decades span. In 2021 alone, FIFA had 21 such deaths. Overall, at the time of that report, 183 professional athletes and coaches around the world had suddenly collapsed. 108 had died in 2021. The collapses have been heart related, like you said, Rob, myocarditis, pericarditis, heart attacks, cardiac arrest, and blood clotting.
It's amazing. And I was just shocked to see it, while I was watching this. And like I said, it was probably recorded, but just shocked to see one of these really physical specimens of athletics. I mean, they're running for 90 minutes. They're just running. Yeah. That's all they do. And kick a ball, which is great. And they're totally skilled at it. But to see that, and then to know that they've all had to be vaccinated and they're all having heart issues, it's not a coincidence.
No. And we were talking about this over the weekend, Nate. I don't know if you remember the conversation. Somebody asked us why we're seeing a lot of this being reported in FIFA players and not so much in like NFL players or anything like that, or like baseball players. And soccer is a completely different cardio animal than those other sports.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could be running for...
Literally, you have 45-minute halves, and you could literally be running for 45 minutes straight.
Yep. Yeah, it's not... I mean, like, football is high intensity for maybe like 5, 6, 7 seconds at a time, and then it stops. And then it's like a 25-second delay. You get reset.
TV timeout.
Yeah, timeout.
There's no timeouts in soccer. 45 minutes goes, and if there's injuries, the clock still runs, and then they add injury time on. So, I mean, you are constantly moving.
I think basketball might be the next most taxing, just because you can be running back and up and down the court for lengthy periods of time before there's a timeout or a foul or out of bounds, something.
Right. But still
not like soccer.
Not like soccer.
And their training is probably very cardio based for the most part, where your heart rate's going to be elevated for long periods of time. Other sports are mostly lifting muscle mass. So it's just a different beast.
Yeah. So, but speaking of, American sports, NBA, last season, Brandon Goodwin, who's a backup guard for the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA, his season was cut short due to blood clots that he developed after he received his COVID-19 vaccines. And he was on, I don't know what platform it was. He was streaming some gaming live, but he was streaming it. So this is kind of what he was saying about that.
I got sick, then I never recovered from it. I would always have back pain, I was just super tired in the games. Like when we played Philly back to back, bro, I was so tired. Like I felt like I couldn't run up and down the court. And then my back was hurting. Then we went home, I think. That's when I started, like, my back really started hurting bad. Like, and then I'm like, all right, I got to go to the doctor. And that's when I found out I had blood clots. Like, that all happened in a span of a month. I was fine up until then. Up until I took the vaccine, I was fine. So people trying to tell you, like, no, it's not the vaccine. No, like, how do you know?
And this is a story that I'm assuming I don't watch a whole lot of ESPN or SportsCenter, but I'm assuming this wasn't frontline news on SportsCenter. I know he took a lot of flack on social media for this, and he even came out and said, well, maybe I had COVID and that's how I got the blood clots. Like he tried to kind of back it off a little bit. But right there, that was truly what he felt.
I love how he ends that. People saying, oh, it wasn't from the vaccine. How do you know?
How do you know?
Yeah.
I love that. Just leave it there. How do you know? Can you prove to me that it wasn't?
Yeah. And I think too many times, I know I do too sometimes, like I get caught up in wanting to like kind of almost validate my point of view. But if somebody comes to me and says like, well, and how do you know that this is the case? And then I just want to immediately look at that person. How do you know it's not?
Right.
I'm not going to explain myself to you. You explain yourself to me. I'm firm in what I believe.
Right.
Tell me why I shouldn't.
Exactly. I think that what we're going to see over time, I don't know if the FIFA players, if we're going to see some of these leaks from Europe, but I think what we're going to see over time is the medical conditions of our athletes over time we're going to start seeing these slip because obviously the media doesn't want this to come out, but we're going to see it slip and we're going to start to see more and more and more. I find it very interesting that an NBA player who has not been vaccinated gets to go now and play, right, in Chicago. Okay, but a local Chicago resident who isn't vaccinated can't go into the arena to watch that player who is unvaccinated play. No, I'm just being honest.
I'm like how you break that down so slowly, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
So this unvaccinated player,
yeah, Kyrie Irving,
yeah. So this unvaccinated player, Kyrie Irving, who isn't allowed to play, in New York City for a while, but then they need money and they need him, so they activate him to go play in away games. He goes to Chicago to play, and an unvaccinated Chicago fan goes to the door and cannot get in the arena, but the unvaccinated player can be in there playing.
This is a bad comedy movie.
It is.
And I mean, I don't mean that lightly. Like, no, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. And it's the same way in the NFL. You could have a guy like, if the Green Bay Packers have to go out, say they make the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl still held in LA, well, then you're going to have Aaron Rodgers, who is vocally unvaccinated and opposed to everything that's going on, going into SoFi Stadium in LA, unvaccinated to play in the Super Bowl, but there will not be a single fan who's unvaccinated allowed to go into that Super Bowl to watch. Same thing. You're right.
Yeah. I'm rooting for that so hard.
I am too, and I honestly do believe it's going to happen because just like with the Georgia voting bill BS earlier in the year when the MLB pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta, and then a few months later, Atlanta makes the World Series, so now they have to host World Series games in Atlanta. It's like, just up yours, We're just going to stick it to you any way we can. I love it.
Aaron Rodgers is going to have some little bit of extra motivation to make that happen.
I think so.
Yeah.